My name is Emily, and at 39 years old, at Christmas, my mom handed my 7-year-old daughter an empty box and said, "We don't give gifts to a fatherless child." Everyone laughed. I didn't. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. That night, I canceled their mortgage, froze their cards, and pulled back $62,283 in transfers. I'm not usually the type to post, but after what went down last Christmas, I've been sitting on this story for months and figured maybe it's time to share it. Let's just say it involves an empty gift box, a messed up family, and a lesson I should have learned years ago about who really deserves your loyalty. I make good money running projects for a construction company. I've got a nice house, a paid-off truck, and a 7-year-old daughter named Lily, who's basically the best part of me. She's smart, funny, and has this way of asking questions that makes you feel stupid and proud at the same time. It's been just the two of us since her dad, Jack, passed 5 years ago. Car accident. I don't talk about it much. The day it happened, something in me kind of reset. I stopped caring about anything that wasn't her. Every decision I've made since then, work, home, life, it all circles back to Lily. She's my entire reason for existing. My family doesn't really get that. They say they do, but they don't see. My parents aren't bad people on paper. They've just got this way of making everything about themselves. My mom's the type who thinks she's the glue holding everyone together, but really she's just holding the mirror. Everything she does, even family stuff, has to look a certain way. Polished, traditional. Picture perfect. My dad mostly nods along to whatever she says. He's not mean, just one of those guys who thinks silence equals wisdom. Then there's my brother, Ashton, golden boy since birth. Doesn't matter what he screws up. Mom calls it finding himself. He's 35, job hops like it's a hobby, still calls dad when his car needs repairs. I've lost count of how many temporary loans I've given him. And Hillary, my sister, the type who posts family is everything on Facebook while complaining about her husband behind his back. She's married with 2 kids and a weird superiority complex because her husband sells insurance and wears loafers. I've always been the reliable one, the Emily will handle it girl. Mortgage short? Call Emily. Need to co-sign a car? Emily's got good credit. Power about to get cut off? Emily will pay it, and we'll pay you back next week. Spoiler, they never do. I used to tell myself it didn't matter. I make good money, and I don't mind helping family. That's what I believed until recently. The truth is, my family never really liked my husband. They weren't cruel about it, not openly. It was more like a constant drizzle of judgment. Little comments at dinners like, "He's very quiet, isn't he?" Or, "You've really changed since you met him." They said it with smiles, but I always caught the undertone, like Jack was too calm for them, too put together. Still, we kept the peace. He'd bake something for family gatherings, sit politely through Hillary's bragging, nod along to Mom's suggestions. He always tried. I think that's what hurt the most. He tried so hard to be liked. When he died, I thought maybe that would change things, that they'd realize how much he meant to me. Instead, it just made things weird. My mom kept saying, "At least you have Lily, she's your piece of Jack," like she was talking about a souvenir, not a person. I didn't argue. I never do. I just worked harder, spent more time with Lily, and let them stay in the background. Then last week, Mom called. She said she was hosting Christmas this year, like always, and wanted me and Lily to come. Her exact words were, "It's been too long, and Lily should be around family. She needs that." Part of me wanted to say no. I hate those gatherings. They're loud, fake, full of forced hugs and bragging contests. But Lily overheard me on the phone, and her face lit up like it was Christmas already. She started asking if she'd see her cousins, if Grandma would like the card she made, if Santa would come there too. So I said yes, because try saying no to a 7-year-old who's missing the kind of Christmas memories you can't give alone. The next few days were chaos. Work, deadlines, traffic, trying to find gifts that didn't feel like generic mom presents. But Lily was in her element. She picked out a sparkly red dress, wrapped her own little gift for Grandma, a hand-drawn picture of the family, including Jack, which I didn't have the heart to tell her might get awkward, and kept humming Christmas songs around the house. She even asked if she could bake cookies like her dad used to. I helped her, even though I suck at baking. We burned the first batch, laughed about it, and she said, "Dad would have saved the middle ones." That one hit hard. I remember looking at her that night and thinking, maybe it won't be so bad this year. Maybe they'll surprise me. I should have known better. My family has this way of pretending they're normal just long enough for you to let your guard down. Then they remind you exactly who they are. The morning of Christmas Eve, Mom sent a text in her usual tone. Don't be late. Family starts at 2. Dress nice. Not can't wait to see you. Not Lily must be excited. Just dress nice. That was my first red flag. Still, I told myself it was fine. I put on a suit, made sure Lily looked perfect in her red dress, and we drove over. She was buzzing with excitement the whole ride, asking if Grandma's tree was bigger than ours, if her cousins would like her drawings, if Grandma would smile when she opened the card. I didn't have the heart to tell her the truth. My mom doesn't do smiling unless someone's watching. I didn't know it then, but that was the day everything changed. That was the day my family showed me exactly what kind of people they really were. The moment I stepped through that front door, I could tell everything was for show. My mom greeted us with her usual stiff smile, more like a job interview than a hello. Well, look who decided to show up, she said, giving Lily a once-over, like she was inspecting an outfit instead of greeting her granddaughter. Lily held out her little envelope with the handmade card inside. Merry Christmas, Grandma. Mom took it, glanced at it like it was a receipt, and said, "How thoughtful," before setting it on the counter without opening it. My dad gave me a half hug, patted my back twice, and disappeared toward the living room where football was on. Lily stayed close to me, smiling shyly. She didn't complain, didn't fidget, just tried to fit in. "Look at her," Mom said after a while, loud enough for everyone to hear. So quiet, just like her father. That tone, light, sweet, but somehow sharp enough to cut. I felt it. Lily didn't understand the dig, thankfully. She just smiled politely and nodded like she thought it was a compliment. The gift opening started after dinner. Everyone gathered in the living room. Hillary's kids went first. New toys, matching scooters, each gift bigger than the last. Everyone clapped and laughed and took pictures. Then silence. Mom clapped her hands. "Now, before we finish, we've got something special for our little Lily." Lily's eyes lit up. She straightened her back and brushed down her dress. I smiled at her, trying to stay relaxed. Mom and Hillary dragged out a huge, shiny red box from under the tree. It was almost as tall as Lily. The whole room watched as they set it in front of her. Even Dad turned down the TV. Lily looked up at me like she was asking for permission. I nodded. "Go ahead, sweetheart." Lily tore into the wrapping paper, giggling as the shreds fell around her. When she got to the box, she opened the lid and froze. It was empty. The room went weirdly quiet for a second. Then Hillary laughed, a short, nervous sound. "Oh, Mom," she said, trying to play it off. My dad shifted in his chair. "Margaret," he said quietly, like even he knew she'd gone too far. But Mom smiled that same tight-lipped smile she always wore when she thought she was teaching someone a lesson. "We don't give gifts to a fatherless child," she said, matter-of-factly. "It's bad luck." Everything in me went still. Lily blinked. Her lips trembled. "What?" Mom shrugged. "It's just how it is. Don't take it personal, sweetie." Then Mom looked down at Lily, still crying quietly, and said in that calm voice that always made my skin crawl, "You even look like your father when you cry." That was it. Something inside me snapped clean in half. "You think that's funny?" I said, my voice low. Nobody answered. "You think humiliating a 7-year-old is something to laugh at?" "Emily," my dad started, holding up a hand like I was a child about to interrupt. "No!" I cut him off. "Not this time." I stood up. Every word that came out of my mouth was shaking, but sharp. "You people talk about family like it means something, but the truth is, you wouldn't know love if it punched you in the face. You hated Jack because he didn't worship you, and now you're punishing his daughter for existing." Mom's smile faltered. "Don't be dramatic." I laughed, but it wasn't nice. "Dramatic? You just told a child her dead father makes her bad luck. You're disgusting." Ashton stood, trying to play mediator. "Sis, relax. She didn't mean it like that." "Then how did she mean it?" I turned on him. "You sit there letting her say that garbage, pretending you're better than me, while I've been bailing you out for years. You think I don't notice you playing broke while you buy new rims?" Ashton opened his mouth, then shut it again. Hillary crossed her arms. "You're overreacting. Mom was joking." Joking? I looked down at Lily, her little hands gripping her empty box, her face red and wet. If that's your idea of a joke, you all need serious help. Emily, please, Dad said, don't make a scene. I stepped closer to him. A scene? You want to see a scene? Watch me walk out that door and never come back. That's the only scene you're getting. I crouched down next to Lily, wiped her tears, and said quietly, We're leaving, baby. You don't need people like this. She nodded, sniffling, still clutching the stupid box. As I carried her toward the door, Mom called out, Oh, stop it, Emily. You're embarrassing yourself. I turned around and looked straight at her. No, Mom. You did that for me a long time ago. And then I walked out. Lily buried her face in my shoulder. I could feel her shaking. I kept walking until we reached the truck, set her in the seat, and buckled her in. She finally spoke, her voice small. Mommy, why did Grandma say that? Did I do something bad? I swallowed the anger clawing up my throat. No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong. Some people just mistake cruelty for strength. She didn't answer, just stared out the window as I started the truck. Driving away, I looked in the mirror and saw the house glowing behind us, bright lights, laughter, fake warmth. I realized it had never been home, not even close. That was the last time we ever set foot in that house, and it was the first night I started planning how to make sure they'd never have the power to hurt us again. When we got home, the first thing Lily did was go straight to her room. She didn't say a word, just crawled into bed. Her little shoulders shook every few seconds. I stayed there for a long time, just staring at the ceiling. I had been through plenty of crap from them over the years, but this one hit different. It wasn't about me this time. It was about Lily. That was the part that broke something in me. The more I thought about it, the more pieces started clicking together. All those subtle digs about Jack over the years. Mom's innocent comments like, he never really tried to fit in, or, you've changed since he came around. Dad agreeing with that blank look, like he didn't even have his own thoughts at the time. I used to think they just didn't understand him, but now, sitting there, it was obvious they never wanted to. They resented him because he didn't play the same games they did. Jack didn't gossip. He didn't brag. He just quietly built a life with me and didn't need them. That's what bothered them. And now they were doing the same thing to Lily because she looks like her dad. By 2 a.m., I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to yell, argue, or explain myself ever again. I was done paying for their mistakes, done trying to earn their approval. No more guilt, no more money, no more pretending. I opened my laptop and started digging through my records. I've always kept everything organized. Years of bank statements, transfer receipts, loan confirmations. I started clicking through folders one by one. $500 to Ashton for car repairs, $2,000 to Mom for medical bills, $1,400 mortgage payment labeled temporary help. The list went on. I added it up, then added it again because I didn't believe the number. $45,000 I'd quietly poured into them over the years. And for what? So they could humiliate my daughter? So my mom could tell people she raised a good woman while treating me like an ATM? They were going to learn what it's like to live without me holding everything together. The next morning, while I was making breakfast, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. Normally, I ignore those, but I answered out of habit. Emily? It was my cousin Melissa. She sounded hesitant. Hey, just giving you a heads up. Your mom's been talking. I already knew this was going to be good. Talking about what? She's been telling everyone you screamed at her, that you ruined Christmas, said you scared the kids, and that Lily threw a tantrum. I actually laughed, a short, humorless sound. Of course she did. Melissa sighed. You know how she gets. But just so you know, she's spinning it like you've changed since Jack died, that you've become bitter and ungrateful. She told Aunt Carol you embarrassed the family in front of the neighbors. I rubbed my temples, so I defended my daughter, and somehow I'm the villain. Yeah, Melissa said quietly. You know how they are. Just thought you should hear it from me first. That phone call sealed it. It wasn't just about money anymore. They were actively trying to ruin my reputation, like they always did when they couldn't control me. This time, though, it wasn't going to work. I thanked her, hung up, and just sat there for a bit. The anger didn't even rise this time. It just flattened out. They weren't toxic in private anymore. Now they were trying to spread it like a virus. I opened my laptop again. This wasn't just about cutting them off now. This was about protecting myself and Lily. I started taking screenshots of every payment I'd ever made for them, every loan agreement, every text that said, "I'll pay you back," every email where Mom thanked me for saving us again. It wasn't about revenge, it was about evidence. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd play smarter. As I worked, I thought back to something Jack once said to me. It was right after we bought our first house together. We'd been arguing with my mom about the down payment because she thought it was unfair I didn't buy near their neighborhood. Jack had told me, "Some people don't want to see you free, Emily. They want to see you useful." I didn't get it then. I do now. By the time the sun came up, I had a folder labeled Proof sitting on my desktop. Every document, every receipt, every piece of evidence that showed how much I'd given and how little I'd gotten back. The gossip didn't matter. The lies didn't matter. What mattered was cutting the cord once and for all, and I knew exactly how I was going to do it. That morning, I opened my banking app and started the process. Every account, every connection, every auto pay. They wanted to talk about family loyalty? Fine. They were about to find out what loyalty looks like when you've drained it dry. The next morning, I woke up early. It wasn't one of those restless, angry mornings either. I felt rested, sharp, clear. Like I'd finally sobered up from a 15-year-long family hangover. Lily was still asleep, drooling on her stuffed rabbit, so I made coffee and opened my laptop. I wasn't doing this in a rush. This was going to be surgical. 2 full days of quiet precision. First target, the mortgage. 6 years ago, my parents couldn't qualify for refinancing because Dad's credit was in the dumpster. They'd called crying, saying they'd lose the house. So I co-signed, just for a few months. Mom had said, "You're our safety net." Safety net turned into me quietly making payments whenever they forgot. I logged into the lender portal. The balance popped up, $167,000 remaining. My name was listed second. I clicked through the payment history. My bank account name showed up on more lines than theirs. That was enough evidence for me. Turns out they were already 3 months behind before I even stopped paying. My deposits had just been covering up the late fees. I deleted my card from their payment system and sent the lender an email saying I wouldn't be covering their payments anymore. If they wanted me off the loan, they'd have to refinance it in their own names. I wasn't their safety net anymore. I attached proof of the payments I'd made and asked them to remove me as an authorized payer on the account. If they wanted me off the note, they could refinance. I hit send. One connection severed. Next up, utilities. 4 years ago, their power nearly got cut off. My mom had called crying again, saying she couldn't let her grandkids freeze. I'd set up autopay without her even asking. It cost me $160 a month, every month since. I logged into the electric and water company accounts, found my name buried under authorized payer, and canceled both. The confirmation emails came instantly. I took screenshots and saved them in a folder called Proof. It was strangely satisfying, like unclogging a drain you didn't realize had been blocked for years. Then came the credit cards. I'd added Mom and Dad as authorized users on 2 of my cards years ago for emergencies. I remember the day I did it. Mom crying, saying she just needed one for groceries. Groceries turned into online shopping sprees in restaurants. I scrolled through 6 years of statements line by line. Each one made my chest tighten less and less. I took their names off my cards, froze both accounts, and ate the old balances. Lesson learned. Still, I sent them a neat little spreadsheet showing every dime they'd run up. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Definitely. I requested new card numbers for myself so they couldn't sneak back in. Another line cut. Then came Ashton's car loan. 2 years ago, he'd shown up at my house saying, "Sis, I just need a cosigner. I'm starting fresh, you'll see." He made 3 payments total before it became my problem. I told the lender I wouldn't be covering Ashton's missed payments anymore. They basically said, "That's between you and him. Fine by me." A few months later, the car got repoed in front of his apartment. My credit took a small hit, but watching that tow truck drive off, worth every point. After that, there wasn't anything to handle. Just let the repo and late marks land. By the afternoon, my desktop looked like a war room. Screenshots, emails, PDFs, all neatly labeled. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I just felt free for the first time in my life. I wasn't waiting for their approval or forgiveness. I was finally making decisions for me and for Lily. I pulled up my bank app, opened a new savings account, and labeled it Lily's Future. Every dollar that used to vanish into their bills was going there now. I set up an automatic transfer for the first of every month. It wasn't much to start, $1,200, but it felt good knowing where it was going this time. After 2 days, I had receipts for everything: mortgage cut, utilities cut, credit cards cut, car loan cut. Each step brought a kind of calm I didn't know I needed. I leaned back in my chair and looked around the living room. For years, I'd been surrounded by quiet guilt. Photos of family trips I paid for, gifts I bought, obligations I never asked for. I started packing them away, not out of hate, but because I didn't need reminders of people who only loved me when my wallet was open. As I boxed them up, I thought about all the times I'd ignored my gut. Like when Mom accidentally left Jack out of the family portrait, or when Ashton called Jack too fancy because he had a degree, or when Hillary told me, "You got lucky he settled for you." At the time, I'd laughed it off, told Jack, "They don't mean it." But now I realized they always meant it. They just never expected me to notice. When school started back up in January, I made Lily's favorite pasta and listened while she talked about her new art project. She smiled again for the first time since Christmas. That little smile was all the proof I needed that I was doing the right thing. After she went to bed, I sat at my desk and double-checked everything. My proof folder was complete. I backed it up to a flash drive and in the cloud. If they tried to twist the story again, I'd be ready. Around midnight, I got an email notification from the mortgage lender. "We've noted your request to stop voluntary payments. Cosigner removal requires refinance or assumption. Account remains delinquent." Delinquency. That word made me grin. For years, I'd been the reason they stayed afloat. Without me, the cracks were already showing. I felt like a woman finally protecting her own family, the only one that mattered. Jack used to tell me, "You can't save people who drown on purpose." I finally understood what he meant. They'd spent years pulling me under, and now I'd finally learned how to swim without them. 3 days passed before the storm hit. I knew it was coming. The silence was too loud. No calls, no texts, no guilt trips from Mom. It was the kind of quiet that meant something ugly was brewing. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. I was making grilled cheese for Lily when someone started pounding on the door. Not knocking, pounding. The kind that rattles the hinges. Lily looked up from her drawing. "Mommy, someone's mad." She wasn't wrong. I peeked through the peephole. Mom, Dad, Ashton. All three of them standing on the porch, like a knockoff mob family. Mom's face was as red as an ornament. Dad's jaw clenched. And Ashton, well, he looked like he'd just gotten evicted from his own ego. I opened the door halfway, keeping the chain lock on. "What?" Mom jumped right in. "The mortgage company called us. They said the payment didn't go through, and the utilities got disconnected this morning. What did you do?" I leaned against the doorframe, calm as ever. "I stopped paying for people who think humiliating my daughter is okay." Her mouth dropped open, like she couldn't believe I said it. "You can't just... Emily, that's not how family works." I raised an eyebrow. "Funny, I thought family didn't humiliate 7-year-olds at Christmas." Ashton scoffed behind her. "Oh, come on, sis, you're still stuck on that? It was a joke." I smirked. "A joke? You call an empty gift box and a fatherless child's speech a joke? Maybe next year you'll light a tree on fire for laughs." Mom threw her hands up. "You're being ridiculous. I told you it was taken out of context." "Out of context?" I cut her off. "You looked my daughter in the eye and told her she didn't deserve a gift because her dad died. What context makes that okay?" Dad finally spoke, his voice booming like he still thought he had authority. "That's enough, Emily. You're crossing a line." I laughed. "The only line I crossed was the one I drew between my family and your chaos." Ashton stepped forward, puffing up his chest. "You think you're better than us now, huh? Just because you make good money?" I didn't move. "No, Ashton. I think I'm smarter for not wasting mine on people who treat me like a wallet with legs." Mom's eyes narrowed. "We're still your parents." "Then start acting like it," I said flatly. "Parents don't leech off their kids. They don't tear down their grandkids for sport." Dad jabbed a finger at me. "You're going to regret this, girl. You think you can just walk away from your family?" I gave a small laugh. "You can't walk away from something that was never there." That shut him up for a second. Mom's voice cracked, like she was switching tactics. "Emily, please. You know we're not perfect, but we need help right now. The house." "The house?" I interrupted. Was my safety net, remember? You begged me to co-sign. I covered your missed payments. I saved your credit. And now that I stopped, you want to call me selfish? You're destroying us, she shouted. No, I said, calm as ever. I just stopped holding you up. Ashton stepped closer, trying to stare me down. You really think you can live your life without family? Who's going to be there for you when things fall apart? I tilted my head. You mean like I've been there for all of you? Newsflash, I already did the whole carrying the family thing. Didn't work out great for me. Mom's face twisted into something between anger and disgust. You've changed, Emily. Yeah, I said, smiling a little. That was the point. For a second, nobody said anything. Just the sound of my fridge humming in the background and Lily's pencil scratching at her drawing in the next room. Then Dad snapped, You're not welcome in this family anymore. I grinned. You can't cut off someone who doesn't need you. That hit harder than anything I'd said before. Dad's face went red. Mom gasped like I'd cursed in church, and Ashton muttered something I didn't catch. I started to close the door. You guys should probably go pay those bills before it gets dark. It's cold out there. Mom tried one last shot. Lily will grow up thinking her mother turned her back on her own parents. I stopped halfway through shutting the door and looked her dead in the eye. No, she'll grow up knowing her mother protected her from people who confuse cruelty with tradition. Then I closed the door, slowly, firmly, locked it. Their muffled voices echoed through the porch, shouting, blaming, calling my name. But I didn't move. After a while, I heard footsteps fading down the driveway. Silence returned like a blessing. I walked back into the kitchen. Lily was sitting at the table, coloring a picture of a house with a big sun and two stick figures holding hands, me and her. No one else. She looked up. Who was that? Just some people who forgot how to knock politely, I said with a small smile. She giggled, satisfied with that answer, and went back to coloring. We spent the rest of the night like that, drawing, talking, laughing a little. It felt normal, peaceful. My phone lit up on the counter. 5 missed calls, 3 voicemails. I deleted them without listening. And for the first time, I was finally protecting the right people. I knew it was only a matter of time before their world started falling apart. When it started, it was with a notice in my inbox from the mortgage lender, pre-foreclosure proceedings initiated. I wasn't supposed to get that email anymore, but my name was still tied to the account, so copies came my way. I stared at it for a second, then deleted it. Their problem now. Then came the chain reaction. Utilities shut off. Mom's credit cards declined at the grocery store. Ashton's car repossessed in broad daylight, from what a cousin told me. Hillary's husband, who's always acted like he's too classy for drama, finally cracked when my parents showed up asking to stay for a week. That week turned into a month. And by the second week, Hillary's husband had packed a bag and went to his brother's house. Word spread that Hillary was losing her mind, trying to juggle her kids, her freeloading parents, and Ashton sleeping on the couch playing video games all day. Meanwhile, I was fine, better than fine. I'd stopped checking their calls after the first few days. My voicemail was full of Mom's guilt-ridden messages. Emily, you can't do this to your family. Your father is sick with stress. You're turning Lily against us. That last one made me laugh. The woman who told my daughter she didn't deserve a gift because her father died was now claiming I was teaching her to hate them. Yeah, sure. But the real kicker came when Melissa, my cousin, called me again. She started with, Hey, just a heads up again. Your mom's been making the rounds. I sighed. What's she saying this time? She's telling everyone you're brainwashing Lily, Melissa said. That you're making her think the family's evil, that you're isolating her. I rubbed my face, trying not to laugh. Right, because needing therapy after your grandma humiliated you at Christmas is definitely brainwashing. Melissa lowered her voice. Look, people were believing her at first. You know how she is. She can cry on command. But then I told them what really happened. I leaned back in my chair, stunned for a second. Melissa, that must have caused a war. Oh, it did, she said, half laughing. Your mom lost it. Aunt Carol called me a liar, but I told her to go ask Hillary's kids. They saw it too. After that, the sympathy kind of died out. That was the first time in years I actually smiled about a family conversation. Thanks, Mel. You didn't have to do that. The fallout spread faster than I expected. Within a month, Mom's friends stopped defending her. People started whispering. Hillary stopped posting family-first photos on Facebook. Ashton was seen taking the bus to his job at a tire shop, which, ironically, he quit a week later. Meanwhile, Lily was doing better. She started smiling again, sleeping through the night, drawing pictures that didn't make my chest ache anymore. One evening, a letter showed up at my door. No return address, but the handwriting was familiar. Mom's. I almost tossed it without reading, but curiosity won. It started just how I expected. We only ever wanted what was best for you. Then came the guilt. You've changed since Jack passed. You used to be kind. Then the manipulation. Lily needs her grandparents. You're ruining her childhood. And at the very end, the line that made me laugh out loud, if your husband were here, he'd be disappointed in you. I crumpled the letter and threw it straight in the trash. That's when it hit me. They'd never stop trying to control the narrative. Even when faced with their own destruction, they couldn't see the truth. To them, I wasn't a daughter or sister. I was a resource that ran out. By late spring, the foreclosure finally went through. Honestly, it happened faster than I expected. But looking back, they were already circling the drain before I cut the cord. They lost the house. Ashton moved in with a buddy. Hillary stayed married, but barely, and my parents ended up in a small rental outside town. I didn't hear from them again for months. Melissa texted me once after that. They're still blaming you for everything, but everyone else knows the truth now. I told her, good, let them talk. I'm done listening. And I meant it. Because the funny thing about peace is it's quiet. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's just steady. I'd spent most of my life mistaking chaos for love and silence for loneliness. Turns out silence is peace, when it's the right kind. Months went by after everything blew up. Spring came, then summer. Life got simple again. Work, school, home. No guilt, no surprise calls, no fake apologies, just quiet. Peaceful, steady quiet. Lily was thriving. Her teacher sent a note saying she was drawing more, laughing more. She even joined the art club. Every time she brought home a messy paint project, I taped it to the fridge like it was the Mona Lisa. And me? I felt lighter. I didn't realize how much mental space my family had taken up until they were gone. My phone didn't buzz at odd hours. My weekends didn't revolve around someone else's emergency. I finally had time to breathe. A few weeks later, when Melissa called me, she sounded half amused, half exasperated. Your mom's still at it, she said, telling people you're living some lonely, sad life. I laughed. Yeah, tell her my lonely life includes pancakes, Saturday cartoons, and a daughter who doesn't cry herself to sleep anymore. Melissa chuckled. You know what's funny? Nobody's buying her act now. Everyone's seen the truth. Hillary barely talks to her, Ashton's broke again, and your parents had to move into some small rental after the foreclosure. That didn't make me happy exactly. It just made sense. You can't build your life on lies and expect it to stand. Let them do what they do, I said finally. I stopped playing referee. And that was the end of that conversation. The months rolled by, and before I knew it, Christmas was around the corner again. The anniversary of the night, everything broke. Only this time there were no invitations, no phone calls, no fake gestures, just quiet. Christmas morning came, and for the first time in years, I didn't wake up with that heavy pit in my chest. No pressure to perform, no fake family act waiting. Just me and Lily, the smell of pancakes and some cheesy holiday music playing on the TV. She came running into the living room wearing her Santa pajamas, hair sticking out in every direction. Mommy, it snowed, she yelled, pointing out the window. We both stood there, watching the snowfall. For a second, it felt like the universe was giving us a clean slate. After breakfast, Lily crawled onto the couch next to me, sipping hot chocolate. Her voice was small when she asked, Are we going to Grandma's this year? I shook my head. No, sweetheart, we're doing our own thing this year. She thought about it for a second, then smiled. Good. I like it when it's just us. That line hit deeper than anything my mom ever said. I put an arm around her and said, Me too, kiddo. Me too. We spent the day watching cartoons, building a blanket fort, and eating way too many cookies. No yelling, no judgment, no guilt, just laughter and calm. At one point, Lily looked up at me with a mouthful of frosting and said, Dad would like our tree. I smiled. Yeah, baby, he would. That was the moment it all came full circle for me. I didn't need a family who tore me down to feel loved. I already had one who looked up to me, for protection, for comfort, for peace. The old version of me would have spent Christmas wondering what my parents were doing, if they were okay, if I'd done the right thing. But the new me, I didn't wonder anymore. I knew. Because sitting there with Lily, her head resting on my shoulder, the house warm and quiet, I realized something I'd never felt before. We weren't missing anything. We were finally whole. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way. That was the first Christmas in my entire adult life that didn't hurt. No whispered judgments, no fake smiles, no pretending things were fine when they weren't. Just me, my daughter, and the quiet hum of peace filling the walls of our little home. I watched Lily build a tower out of wrapping paper tubes, giggling when it fell over. She looked up at me, her eyes bright, and said, "Mommy, can we make this our thing every year? Just us?" I nodded, my throat tight with emotion. "Yeah, baby," I whispered, "every year." Outside, the snow kept falling, soft and steady, like a promise that everything broken could still be made new. I thought about all the years I'd wasted chasing approval from people who only gave love with conditions. How many times I'd stayed quiet to keep the peace, when really I was just teaching them how to hurt me. Not anymore. Lily curled up next to me, her tiny hand resting on mine. The fireplace crackled, the tree lights blinked softly, and for the first time since Jack died, I felt him there. Not as a memory or an ache, but as peace. Like he was proud of me. For finally standing up, for finally protecting the life we built together. Grief had turned me into a caretaker for everyone else's comfort. But that night, I realized love doesn't mean setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. Love is boundaries. Love is peace. Love is a 7-year-old girl smiling again after being told she wasn't enough. I glanced at Lily, who had fallen asleep halfway through a Christmas movie. Her face was calm, no trace of the sadness that had haunted her since last year, and I whispered softly, more to Jack than anyone else, "We're okay now." Because we were. Not rich, not flashy, not surrounded by people who pretended to care, but finally okay. And that's all I ever wanted.